Hello there, I'm your host Dan Rojas, and today I'm going to be showing you how to cut some glass bottles. Now there's a lot of different methods for cutting glass bottles. One of the methods uses a rope where you take a string, tie it around there, dip the rope first in alcohol, catch it on fire, let it burn, then dip this in cold water, and you actually break the glass, you stress it. You end up with edges that look something like this. The other option is to take a glass cutter, put a score line on the bottle, and then take a blowtorch, have a go at it with that, heat the glass up, dip it in cold water, and you stress the glass again. Another option is to fill the bottle with oil, put it in the freezer, drop a flaming object into the oil, cause the oil to heat, it cracks it. None of those methods really create a nice clean edge. So what I did was I asked some of the experts, people who've actually cut hundreds of wine bottles or thousands of wine bottles. I told them that I want to save the bottle to make a glass out of, or for our projects to make a vacuum chamber, but I also wanted the top because we need the top to fit on there nicely to put something in it. Basically, they all tell me that because of the type of glass that's used for beer bottles, which are actually harder to do, and wine bottles, that you can't get a perfect cut. Basically, it's impossible to get a nice clean cut. Well, I want you to see something. So this is a combination of the burning rope and a score line. You can see that you end up with edges that look something like that. This is one that I did a while back ago. This is a beautiful Grey Goose bottle. Now this is one reason why you want to do this, because you can make some really nice Christmas gifts or cups. This was done with a grinder. I grinded a little edge in it and then chipped it away. Used a little hammer to break the top part off, then sanded it. The problem is you end up with stress lines that come down into the area that you want. Obviously I could bring this down, but then we would have a goose without a head. That wouldn't be very attractive. So I showed this to one bottle cutting guy and he said this was excellent work actually. You can see that we got a nice edge around there. And generally the rule of thumb is it takes about anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes to an hour to finish a glass like this, depending on how good you are. Now beer bottles are probably the hardest thing to do, and you can see this was done with the scoring and using a blowtorch. The exciting thing is when I got to this bottle here, this is the top part that's supposed to be unsalvageable, and this was that glass. As we come closer over here, you can see that this one is really good. There's just maybe, if you want to make a cup, maybe 5 minutes of sanding at the most to finish this edge. This fits on here nicely. This glass is very difficult to do. That fits on there near perfect. And my favorite is the Absolute bottle. This actually, if you put force there, will hold water and won't leak at all. This fits together perfectly. It fits like, it's a perfect cut. Why? What? Really? So this fits on there perfectly, and this cut is pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is show you. What I have here is a wine bottle cutter that I got off of the internet. Now this cutter was about $45. It's got something to hold the bottle up there so you can turn it, and you have a glass cutter here. In a future video, I'm going to be taking these rollers and making a setup. You could probably use roller skate wheels or just about anything. You want to be able to just set the bottle in place and be able to turn it and use a regular glass cutter, because that's all that this is. It's just a regular glass cutting head. Put a score line there and a score line there so you can make tubes out of bottles like this. For now, I'm going to be showing you with this one. Now, it's important to mention some of the common mistakes that most people make when they do this. They recommend that you oil the glass and everything's cleaned perfectly before you start. I found that that's really not necessary. Now, the biggest mistake that people make is they put too many cut marks into the glass. They feel the deeper they cut it, the better off it's going to be. So what you want to do, I'm just going to zoom in on this. So what you want to do is make sure that everything's nice and firm in place. And that's all you need right there. That score line right there is going to be exactly where the glass cuts. This is the point where people who know how to do this and somehow end up with results that look like this, don't understand the properties of glass. They'll take a high intensity blowtorch and they'll heat the bottle up, then they'll dip it in water to shock the glass. A blowtorch is just way too powerful. What you end up doing is causing stress all throughout the glass. You just need it right there. Now, if you've ever had a cup of water, made a cup of tea, and you put hot water in the wrong type of cup, you may hear the glass stress and crack, and you actually will put fine lines in it. That's all you need to cut a wine bottle. You just need hot water. You don't need a blowtorch. You don't need a flaming stream. You don't need anything that intense. Glass is very sensitive to temperature changes. So we want it to break right on this score line. If we overdo it with the heat, it's never going to break there. It's going to do something like this, where it breaks in all different places. So I am going to get some boiling water, and I'm going to pour it right along this edge. So I am at my shop sink right now. I have the bottle. I have a stream of water running. This is cold water, okay? I have a flashlight set up. This just helps me see where the glass is actually stressed and cracked. And I have a teapot full of hot water. The cutting device that I use to cut this comes with a little hammer that you can tap and shatter the glass and end up with fragments and then spend a half hour cleaning it up. That's pretty much worthless. What I'm going to do is show you what to do. You slowly, it's a good idea to wear goggles when you do this just in case something strange happens, but you take and you pour very little hot water. You slowly heat the bottle up right on that line. You just pour it lightly, slowly, slowly, and then once it starts to heat up the glass, then you go a little bit, and then you just run cold water over it. Now what's going to happen is the light's going to change through there. You're going to notice that this glass bottle has cracked all along that seam. So I'm going to do it again. You just go real slow. Little bit of water, let the heat build up, and boom. There you have a perfectly cut glass. You can see that the edge is nice and smooth. This fits on, this would take about maybe a minute or two to sand down with an emery cloth or with a piece of sandpaper. And what's even more impressive is your top part is salvageable. So you could basically seam this back together with some silicone to make a vacuum tube or whatever. But you'll notice a huge difference. Go through YouTube and look at the videos of what people do. Look at the ones where they catch them on fire, they use blow torches, and you'll see that their edges, they do not end up with anything even close to this. This is a one-shot deal. This, you could probably do 20 of these an hour if you got really good at it. And it's a great way to make Christmas gifts and recycled glass. Another water bottle that I just did. This literally took me 30 seconds to cut. It is score, hot water slowly, and you're done. And nobody will have a cut that nice. You can get, they say that you should expect about a 50% success rate when cutting bottles. I'm actually at about 95% with this method. The only time that you're ever going to mess up is if you do too deep of a cut, or you go over the same area too many times, if your water is poured on too fast. And when you pour the boiling water on that cut, lightly, slowly, that alone will do it. I mean, it just instantly stresses the glass and pops it perfectly. This can go back together. This will hold. I'm going to fill this up with water to show you something. Okay, you see how it's leaking out there? Now watch this. With a little bit of pressure, it completely seals it. Seals it right back up. This will hold water for as long as you keep it on there. And then if you let the pressure loose, of course it comes out. I'm your host, Dan Rojas. Thank you for watching, and enjoy our videos.